guitar strings.
Welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase. Bill, let you know that, well, think a little differently than what perhaps your grandparents did when it comes to finances. It's a new world out there. New things are happening, and you need innovative strategies. Let's see what Bill has to say this week about, what is it? Financial illiteracy.
You got it. Nice job. Way to get that out.
I didn't stumble on that one.
Morning. Hey, I want to start up a special shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks and all their fans.
Right?
Yeah. Fantastic. That's awesome. It's always great to see it.
Amazing.
A team like that rise to the occasion and become champions.
First time a champion's been crowned in, and since the Packers did it in like 39 or something in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's outstanding. That's fantastic.
Really
I wanted to start off with a shout out.
That is really cool. Yeah.
But so congratulations on the team and the fans and all those involved with that organization. Mm-hmm. But we do want to talk about finances. Yes. And maybe you bet on the game and won a lot of money last night. That's great. And you might want to parlay that, roll that into an investment of some sort. Probably not, because most people don't play that way. But I would recommend it. I want to talk about financial illiteracy because something occurred with me last week. I did something I don't often do. I went to a fast food joint to get a quick sandwich because I was on the road all day and I hadn't eaten. And so I stopped at this place and I ordered I don't want to say the name of the place, but I ordered a McChicken sandwich. Yeah.
Okay.
And the kid in Windows, I'm doing the drive-through, and the kid says it's $2.15. I said, okay, fine. So I pull out a $5 bill and I give him a quarter because I don't want all that change. And we got that change shortage going on, which no, we don't. It's just everybody has a huge jar at home right now.
Right.
But so I give him the $5.25, and he sits there and he fiddles with the coins in the drawer. And I'm like, I'm thinking, don't they put in what you give them and it tells them what to give back? And he's just fiddling. And I just look up and I go, you owe me $3.10. And he just shakes his head and goes, oh, thank you. Like he was sigh of relief. He could not make the change.
It's simple.
All right. And worse than that, I get to the window, I get my sandwich and I go driving off and I pull it out and it's not a McChicken. It's a double cheeseburger. I'm like, 0 for 2.
Surprise.
So kudos to those parents.
Right.
And the school system that he's in. But, wow, it's not uncommon. I think we've all experienced this. We've all gone to fast food restaurants and other restaurants and not gotten what we ordered or had difficulties with change because we're not using currency anymore, which is another thing I'll bring up a little bit later in the show. But, that stems from the parents. Yeah. And, I'm sure I said this on the last show because Kent, every time you see me, I probably say this. And what are the two things that spouses don't talk about?
Sex and money.
Sex and money. And I
not necessarily in that order, right?
And I always say I'm here to help you with one of them. So, if parents aren't talking about it, they aren't teaching their kids either. And I'm as guilty as anybody. I'll be honest with you. And I've been in the financial world over 35 years. And I still hope it rubbed off on them. But I didn't make it a purpose. Yeah. We started dabbled with allowance from time to time, but then, tough to keep kids on track and getting those chores done and everything else and earning the money. So I'm as guilty as anybody, but that's where it really starts. It starts at home. Yeah. And then, we get into the folks as they get into their careers and they sign up for those 401ks and because they get in that corporate world and they you ask anybody, I'd say about 90+% of people who are involved in a 401k most likely don't have a clue what they're invested in. They don't have an idea how much it's making for them. They don't know how much it's costing them. they get a perspective once a year from their company. Says read over this stuff, and that's what they have to do by law. Right. So and nobody reads it, and everybody just lets it go wherever it's at. I've looked at people's portfolio for the financial side of their portfolio, and seen like, you're only making 0.2% a year on this investment. Oh, really? Well, folks, that's a guaranteed loser, because, the cost of living is going up more than that. Right. On an annual basis. Right now it's about 2%, but most advisors like to use 3% because that's the way it is on an average over a long period of time. But so you're not in good investments. You're not paying attention to what's going on. You got to hope and a prayer that it's going to be enough. And I've said this before, 401ks are one half of a pension. Pensions were great because they were guaranteed. They were going to pay out for life. And how does that happen? Well, a pension is made up of investments and insurance. When you got rid of pensions, you got rid of the insurance side, and you only left the investment side. So leaving the investment side only is 100% risk. Now you can say, all right, I'm spread out. I got mutual funds and exchange traded funds called ETFs. And so I'm diversified. And then I say, okay, but when the market goes down 40%, how's that diversification working for you?
Right.
Not so well. We've had a rocky road this week already, right? Down over 700 points on Monday, up over 500 points yesterday. It's all over the place. And I know a lot of people live day to day watching the market. Where's my money going?
Yeah.
How's my money doing and everything? And we have a lot of complacency, right? We got 12 years of this bull market. And it's been a great run. I don't know if it's going to end. I don't have that crystal ball.
Right.
I think it absolutely will end at some point, but timing.
Well, and let's talk about financial literacy and some innovative strategies. So there's a listener out there who she just finished her master's degree, got her first job, and salaried in the 60s. Right. What do you suggest for somebody like that who's just starting out at ground zero? Probably has some educational debt too as well. And,
Yeah, no, awesome question, because and honestly, I got a call yesterday from a college graduate who is interviewing for a new job today. And he had concerns. He's like, okay, they're telling me all this stuff, all these benefits, and the health and all these choices I have to make, that HR says, got to get this done. Here's all the information. Just go online, take the classes. And very few people do that.
Right.
How do I set up my 401k and everything? And typically, for me, I believe that the best thing to do is if there's a match, say a 3% match, if you put 3% in, I would go for it. That's free money.
Yeah.
Take that. But I wouldn't put any more than that in there. I would take other monies and maybe start an IRA or a Roth, because you have more options. A 401k plan in any environment is limited. So an IRA or a Roth would be a better option. Mm-hmm. That's the old Dave Ramsey saying, buy term and invest the rest. And you'll be out of debt in 8 years or whatever.
Right.
I say, it's not a bad idea, but if you don't have the discipline to do that, it doesn't work.
Sure.
And no plan works if you don't have the discipline to go through with it.
Yeah. So what dollar amount to start that IRA or that Roth?
Well, there are limitations every year to what you can put in, depending upon your age and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And over the age of 50, you can play a little catch up and add an extra $1,000, but it's about $6,500 a year. You can in 401ks, you can get away with putting a little more money in. It's dependent upon your income, but and there's a lot more to that. But
yeah. To start up an account, is it $100?
Get involved. Yeah, absolutely. Get something going on and get it going on early, because you'll be amazed. Starting off, she's going to be working maybe 40 years.
Yeah.
If she's lucky. A lot of people get cut short now.
Right.
But maybe you're working 30, 35, 40 years. That stuff adds up and compounds. But again, it's at risk. the difficulty is when you get to that like 60 years old, and between 60 and 70 years old, that's when you really got to be concerned about your investments.
Yeah.
Because that's a time where you cannot afford to take that 30-40% market hit.
Yeah.
You can't, because you don't have time to grow that money back. And that will absolutely change your whole lifestyle. So you have a choice. You can choose to create your lifestyle and have a plan in place to maintain that lifestyle, or you can have it dictated to you. And ultimately, that nobody wants their lifestyle dictated to them.
Right.
But
right.
That's the choice most people make.
Yeah.
Because, I sit here and harp day in and day out. Nobody makes plans. They don't do financial planning. They plan a vacation. They plan a wedding. They plan a college. They plan to get married. Plan to start a family. They plan all kinds of things, but they don't plan for probably the most important part of their lives, and that's their financial stability.
So when you say that, what does a financial plan entail?
A good financial plan. So a lot of advisors out there, the buzzword is I'm holistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up last week. I said, go ahead, ask them, what does that mean? And you'll get a deer steering in the headlights on occasion. But the reality is a good advisor looks at all aspects of a person's situation.
Yeah.
That includes investments. That includes insurance, long-term care, whether you need guaranteed income like an annuity, estate planning. You don't have to be a lawyer to talk about estate planning, because here's the easiest question in the world for an advisor to ask someone and learn a tremendous amount instantly is, do you have a will? If a person doesn't have a will, they say no, I know they don't have any other plan, because that's the most important part. And in the state of Illinois, if you like and love the state of Illinois, then don't have a will, because they'll be happy to take half of everything.
Right.
And that's fine. But most people don't like that idea. Once I talk to them, and talking about powers of attorneys too. One spouse, now in our generation, we have both spouses working. But one spouse typically brings in more and the bulk of the income, and the other spouse is supportive of that. But so do you have a power of attorney if the spouse bringing in the most income becomes incapable of handling day-to-day issues,
right?
Medical issues, financial issues? Do you have a power of attorney to be able to get at that and to be able to make those decisions? Simple one. If let's say you have a 401k, something happens to you and you're no longer able to handle this scenario, the day-to-day lifestyle. And so your wife has to. Well, guess what? She has no access to that 401k. Right. So not without a power of attorney. Or maybe you have a kid who's going to college. Have a power of attorney. I've told you the story. My daughter, I dropped her off her sophomore year of college up in Minneapolis, drove home, got home at 8 at night, got the call at 1 a.m. She had been roofied and she was in the hospital. Well, I did not have a power of attorney. So they wouldn't tell me anything. I couldn't make any decisions. It was the worst feeling in the world as a parent. Yeah. There is no lower feeling than being helpless and your child needs
help.
And
even if you weren't the power of attorney, if somebody else was, you could contact them and say, hey, what's going on with my kid?
Right. There's a lot of different aspects to a portfolio that aren't just investing. It's not just insurance. Yeah. And people say, all right, we're just going to put money in a mutual fund or I know all about insurance,
Well, and that's the illiteracy part that I think most people and a lot of our listeners have. I mean, the financial savvy that most people have is pay yourself first, so you take, that's a big buzzword. Take $100 and you sock it away in your sock drawer. Right. Yeah. Or the shoebox or whatever. But then when, fit hits the shan, so to speak, right? You stop paying yourself first. And
most people don't pay themselves first.
Right.
So if you look at a pie chart, and I specifically don't bring in charts and things like that, because that bores people and it doesn't apply to them, but a simple pie chart is about 43% of that pie chart is money going out to pay interest on debt.
Yeah.
Credit cards, cars, home mortgage, stuff like that. I'd say another 23% 3% or so is just paying bills.
Yep.
And taking care of things. Now you're well into 60, almost close to 70%. You're probably maybe putting 1 to 3% away in savings, maybe if you're slightly disciplined at all.
Yeah.
And then let's say you have about 20% left over. The 20% left over, that's your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we could help people understand and learn how to reduce that interest money that they're paying out, right, and how to reduce their bills and their debt, you can create a bigger piece of the pie for that fun stuff, that recreational side.
Yeah.
Right. That's what expands. You don't want to. A good advisor will work with existing funds and just make them work more efficiently.
Yeah.
And that's what innovation is to make something work more efficiently.
Yeah. So again, and Tim, good morning. Tim Santos would be a great guy to have on the show too, as he works with a lot of folks with Medicare and things on that insurance side.
I've had
planning.
Wonderful conversations with Tim.
And but if people out there listening want to know some more strategies that they're not necessarily going to get, in the brief time that we're on the air, how do they get in touch with you?
You don't have it today. We had my email address is my last name, as you can see on the screen, Haase, Haase. Make sure you use 2 A's. .Bill, my first name, @gmail.com. That's a great way to get a hold of me. I do have a cell phone. It's 847-942-4028.
Yeah.
And I typically answer it when I can, but I'm more often on it than not.
And really, you're giving us a 30,000-foot overview. I mean, we're not getting all of Bill's innovative strategies here. It's kind of the 30,000-foot overview of it, which is good. Why is it? And I'm going to go back to what you said a little bit earlier in last week. People don't talk about money and sex. Why is it that people don't? You want to have those conversations about money?
Well, do you like talking about things you don't know about?
Me, yes. That's why I have a radio station.
People don't like talking about what they don't know about. Because it's very important for an advisor to make sure that the folks they're talking to don't feel dumb. Don't make them feel stupid. You're an expert as an advisor, and that's what you chose in life. And I'm not an expert auto mechanic or an electrician or a plumber or whatnot. So, but people are more readily going to those types of people for help because they have to, right?
Gary, good evening over in Singapore. And of course, some of these innovative strategies can be in place worldwide.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are absolutely international now.
Yeah.
We have been for decades. I mean, when I was in the trading pits, I was a broker that I helped international banks all over the world. But so it's been international for a while, but no more so than today with the cryptocurrency stuff, especially going on.
So when it comes, what I find, and again, I've been in the finance world for 20 plus years, and what I find too is people don't know how much money they have, right? So back in the day,
that's not uncommon,
right? So back in the day, your grandparents or your mom or you and I, we had the passport book savings.
Right.
You kept track, a ledger of everything that you had. Now everything's gone digital and paperless, and really, I find that a lot of people, I really don't know. I get a statement every quarter for whatever it may be, and I never open it. I just know it's a statement.
I have met with people where we sit down and the spouse has thrown a shoebox in front of me and goes, here's 6 or 9 months of statements I haven't even opened. And I've literally found tens of thousands of dollars that they didn't know they had. And there'd be 13 accounts. I didn't know I had 13 accounts spread out because I was a consultant and I worked for a year here and got a 401k and a year here for 401k and whatnot. And the interesting part is their spouse didn't even know it, right? So the husband and wife, the wife's got 13 accounts that she only knew of about 7.
Yeah.
And the husband didn't even know she had 7. What happens if something happens to her? and he doesn't even know she has all this money, much less where to go and get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you really need to have that conversation. When I sit down, I always say, let's sit down with both spouses, because it's not uncommon for them to be each other to be surprised what the other one is thinking as far as retirement ideas and thoughts.
So, how often should somebody take a look at how much they have? I mean, do you bog down and look at it daily? Like, oh my gosh, the market just dropped 700 points. Oh my gosh. Or do you go, you know what? I'm going to look every month at the end of each month, or what do you recommend?
Well, it's all over the board because everybody's different and they're going to treat it differently. I mean, obviously you should meet with an advisor every 6 months or 12 months, no longer a period of time than that. Just to do a review, because no plan is perfect.
Right.
A plan is put in place given the time and scenario and situation you're in now, but that life happens and things change. So you need to keep continuing to meet with your advisor. But I tell a little story with my father. When I'd go down to Florida, he was retired living on a golf course, and I'd go down and we'd play golf with his buddies. And afterwards, they would all take off right away and they would race home. And my dad did the same thing. And they would get on their computers and they would see how the market did that day and what happened to their money. You know what that tells me? You don't have a plan.
Yeah, right.
Because you're not comfortable. You're not living life peacefully.
That's a good point.
A plan ultimately brings peace of mind. That's really what it's for and what it's about.
Yeah.
But you can't. If you have 100% of your money in the market, you can't have peace of mind.
Right. It's volatile. Yeah. Up and down, in and out. It's like a roller coaster ride.
It's all over. And it is changing. I mean, I was talking earlier, I said I'd get back to the currencies and the dollar, but, with the kid at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of chatter on the street in my world that the U.S. dollar is going to fail, ultimately. And so there's a lot of push to getting gold. And the purpose meaning gold has been around for a couple thousand years, and it's always been a currency of sorts. But the reality is come on, there's not that much gold out there, really. And what happens then without that much gold is the value of gold will go up higher and higher for those who can afford it more and more. And it will wind up being in the top 1% of people owning all the gold.
That's it.
So that's not going to work either. It might work short term. But then we have these cryptocurrencies coming out, and they have been out, and I think what we're seeing is it's still a Wild West, but what we're seeing is there's more sophistication involved in designing these coins going forward, and so they're not going away. Mm-hmm. They're going to be a part of life. And what do we say? El Salvador just said Bitcoin was going to be their country's currency.
Yeah.
So you're going to see more of that.
And when we talk about that, I think a lot of it is a lack of education. So how does somebody get the education on Bitcoin other than, man, it's hot right now, and I saw this thing on TikTok?
Well, there's no better learning way than actually getting involved. I know a lot of folks probably out there mining Bitcoin, and that changes dramatically, and it gets very expensive. So you join a club that's doing it, and you pay all kinds of fees, and it gets very expensive. So you need good movement. There's been a lot of movement in the cryptos lately on the downside, and there is a new coin offering coming out in August, and there's speculation that some of that money that's coming out of the other cryptocurrencies is looking to be put into this new one. Who knows whether it's true or not. I mean, we hear stories all the time, and some stories are to the benefit of this new coin, and some stories are to the detriment. We get that in every strategy, every plan, yin and yang. One person thinks it's great, and another person thinks it's terrible.
Yeah.
You can just turn on and watch any one of those TV shows that when those guys come on, and they all think they got it all. They know everything, and here's what you got to do and exactly what you got to do. And
or you can tune in to 21-6 and Ed on Wednesday mornings. And
you could.
Hey.
You could. You could.
All right. So as we're talking about that, we were in the green room chatting, and one of the gentlemen that were here mentioned, I jumped in and got involved with the cryptocurrency, but I don't know how to get my money out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Good point. It's a question I often get asked with people looking to get in, and there are, I would say, just talk to the person who got you into them.
Yeah.
To learn that. But I do know there may be a debit credit card attached to it once you get to a certain level. And as I understand it, I've talked to some CPAs and they have said, yeah, if you use that, you can go to an ATM, pull money out, buy gas, groceries, do whatever. And it's not recordable income.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no real tax on it. But when you do pull money out, a big sum to put it in your bank account, that is reportable. And that is, it's either capital gains or it's income tax, depending upon the timing.
Right.
So
interesting. So Shayna, good morning, says, what credentials should we look for in an advisor? Any red flags to watch for? And good morning. Very timely topic.
Yeah. Awesome question. And it's actually kind of tough to answer because if you're not financially literate, you're not going to know whatever you're being told is right or
snake
wrong.
Oil, right?
Yeah, you don't know. But and like I said, the new buzzword is I'm holistic, and really what an advisor who's saying that is telling you is I do both investment and insurance. The reality is only about 20% of advisors, to my knowledge, actually understand the purpose of doing both and how to mix the two together.
Yeah.
Because you're using insurance to protect your assets. You don't necessarily use insurance for the death benefit, which is what everybody thinks. I'm paying this bill every month just so somebody can have a big party when I pass.
Yeah.
That is as far from the truth as you can possibly get. Insurance can be used to protect your assets that are in the market. Insurance can be used as a bank. You can borrow from the cash value and pay things off and then pay yourself back and recuperate your money. There's some cool stuff that insurance can do. I've told you, the market was exciting for me for 20 years, but in the insurance world there's some really neat stuff going on there.
Well, I think too, with an advisor, get to know them on a personal level. I mean, who are they? What do they stand for?
We do business with those who we know, like, and trust.
Right.
And you have to do that. You have to be comfortable with that person. You'll get a feel for a good advisor is going to listen, not talk. A good advisor isn't looking to sell you a product or a service. A good advisor is someone who is truly concerned. What are your thoughts? What are your issues? What are you thinking about? A good advisor does not try to say, well, let's put a whole package together.
Yeah.
You do it piecemeal, one piece at a time. What's your biggest concern? Well, my father died from pancreatic cancer. His brother just got pancreatic cancer. So I'm kind of concerned about, my health going forward. Well, maybe long-term care is a subject you want to discuss. A lot of people have misconceptions about that as well. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, I'm never going to need it. And I can show you numbers, but trust me.
Would a red flag be how many companies they've worked at in the last 2 years or 3? You know what I mean? So is this person a bouncer? Are they
a real red flag?
Yeah.
How much money you got? That's go fish for what can I sell them?
There you go. Interesting. Good.
Really seriously, that question right there is, how much do you have? When I go to meet people for the first time and they're like, okay, what do I need to prepare? Nothing. You don't need to bring anything. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
We have no idea where it's going to go. I have no idea what your needs are or what your wants are. Bring nothing. Let's just talk.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
Hence I asked that question. Just a simple question to get things going. Do you have a will? No. Okay. Now I know you don't have any plan.
Right.
Because a will is the easiest thing in the world to do. And everybody should have it. It is, especially if you're a business owner.
And they're very inexpensive.
They're very inexpensive. Yeah. There's many ways to get them for, $20.
Yeah.
But I would advise against that kind of a thing. I would say, speak to an estate planner because they can put a will together that's a little bit more comprehensive than just your basic internet will.
Yeah, and I like what you say. I mean, if that advisor, if she or he is on their phone or typing while you're talking, or you know what I mean, they're not dialed into you.
They're not asking the right questions.
That's right.
They're not getting all of the proper information that should be on a will.
Yeah.
Again, I'm guilty of it. I my wife and I were talking about the other day. It's like, our will is like 25 years old, 27 years old, because we were forced to do it because we started having children.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's probably a pretty good idea now. And it was. And I've just contacted a gentleman that I work with that is an estate planner. So he said, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Let's get together and get this up to play, but up to snuff.
Yeah. And I think that's important. The first part too, to financial literacy, not illiteracy, is to admit I'm dumb when it comes to finances. I don't know what I don't know, and I've never took time to study it.
Yeah. I mean, most advisors, with whatever company they're with, they're trained a specific way, but we know for the most part, 98% of the people we meet are financially illiterate to a great extent. Sure. Maybe not 100%, but and then every once in a while you do meet somebody who's really got it all going on. But in the last 5 years, I say I'd met two. Mm-hmm. And we don't teach it in schools. You remember when I was growing up in school, you could take sewing classes, you could take homemaker classes, you could take typewriting classes, home economics, all, machine shop, which they should still be doing. Right. You could take all kinds of things, but none of it was about money.
Right. Nothing.
We just avoid this subject for whatever reason. It's too complicated. It takes too long. It costs too much. You can name any excuse you want. They're just all excuses.
Yeah, we did have a bookkeeping class in high school.
Yeah,
it was basically,
checkbook keeping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So it was basically.
How's that working for you?
Simple accounting. Debits, credits. Yeah.
Right.
Which is fantastic. And truthfully, being in the business world, I mean, I was thinking about the show today, and as I woke up this morning, I hop on my phone and pay 3 bills.
Right. We're scrambling.
Yeah.
And you're not paying attention to your money. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you have to 24/7. No, I'm saying if you do work with somebody and you have a plan in place, you have that peace of mind where that's not a concern anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this bill or the market or where I'm going to be in 5 years. And, and again, plans change and you make adjustments. Hence you have to meet with them. But, Shana, that's a great question. And there are vibes, we all meet people and we know if they're real or they're not.
Yeah.
And regardless of what they think they are, we get that vibe pretty quickly. Trust your gut, trust that vibe that you get. And it might work great. You might have a great conversation with him several times or her several times and be feeling really good about it. And then all of a sudden there's a comment from the advisor that kind of throws you off. I mean, I've had this issue, it's an art to learn how to speak to folks about finances. Mm-hmm. It takes time. It takes a long time. And the beginning of that art is just be honest. If you're honest, nothing can ever go wrong.
Yeah.
As far as, you're not going to make the mistakes, but it's tough to find that right advisor.
Absolutely. Shana says, I would give up my knowledge of the ancient art of cursive writing for a base knowledge in real world financial matters for sure. Yeah, that is. Yeah. Why are we? Well, there's a reason why we are, right?
Well, okay. Go find somebody who's going to teach it.
Right. Well,
if we're that much illiterate, it's hard to find somebody who can teach it and willing to teach it.
Right. But I mean, it's like you go back into biblical times or ancient Roman times, and you weren't allowed to read the Bible, right? We were going to tell you because we didn't want you to have to question what's in there. And that way we always had a leg up on you. Mm-hmm. So it isn't ancient Roman times, but there's still a piece of that says, well, if we can.
Prime example of a whole culture falling apart in financial illiteracy. Sorry, but Brits, Brexit, you blew it. You blew it. Dumbest thing ever. Yeah. Well, there's some other dumb things politically, but we won't go down that road here. But it was really a huge mistake from the very beginning. The part of the concern there was they don't want to go global. They don't want to be part of a control with other countries that have the influence. So guess what? They have the influence anyway.
Right.
Number one. Number two, if you don't think we're going global, wake up.
Yeah.
I mean, you really need to slap yourself because we are already fully global.
Right.
And have been. Now, we're going to go more and more and more global. We're going to be more and more one culture, one society going forward, I believe. I don't know if it'll happen in my generation, but pretty sure it won't. I'm getting old. But
that's coming.
It is.
Cryptocurrency
ultimately where else can it go?
Right.
Logically.
Well, we keep printing air.
No, logic doesn't mean anything anymore. But logically.
That's right. And as long as America keeps its printing presses open, we'll just keep creating it.
Well, and here we are in America where we're questioning everything.
Yeah.
We can't believe anything we hear. I grew up with my dad's favorite saying, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. Never has that been more clear than now.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. I'm sitting here trying to do this radio show and paying to be here to help educate people.
Yeah.
Just because I feel it's important. No other reason. It's just, I want to be here. I want to help people. And I think true good advisors, that's what they do.
Yeah. Thanks, Shannon. You and I, maybe a few years ago, you had told me about this strategy. And I think today the 20-something-year-olds are a little bit more financially literate than perhaps people my age, right? I mean, they do a lot of investing. There's a lot of things out there, Acorn, things like that, right?
Yeah, I'd be careful calling that literate, but yeah.
But, but you had said, if somebody in their mid-20s took $1,000 and invested it in something, by the time they're 40, they'll be a millionaire. Was that just an IRA? What was that?
There's ways to put money away that will grow risk-free.
Yeah.
Consistently, and will create cash value. And again, we're talking about an insurance policy.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't know.
People don't know, like a whole life insurance policy. Oh no, those are the most expensive. Well, I got news for you. Go ahead and buy the universal life or the variable life and buy it on what they call flexible premium, meaning we pay less now, but we have to pay more later to catch up. You don't pay more later to catch up. So the policy eats the cash value and becomes worthless when you need it the most.
Yeah.
And I tell every advisor I know, I said, don't sell them because in 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to have a lot of pissed off clients. And that's the last thing you want at that point in your career.
Right.
But yet they're still out there selling them all over the place. And it's not good. But a whole life policy has a guaranteed return. And then it has a non-guaranteed return. The guaranteed return, you're going to get about 3.5%. The non-guaranteed side is that if you're with the right insurance company that pays dividends, dividends get paid into that cash value, and you can even earn a higher percentage. Okay, and it depends on the company whether you can get up to 4 or 5.5%, maybe 6%, even if somebody's paying a great dividend.
Yeah.
But that's risk-free cash. That should absolutely be a part of everybody's portfolios. And there's more things that can do. That particular policy can do to help you financially. It can get you out of debt in less than 10 years.
No, you can't do that with a term. You You can't borrow against a term, or
can't borrow
no.
against a term. A term is a term, right? By
Yeah.
term. But okay, so I buy a 20-year term policy, and I'm 20 years old, and I get a $500,000 policy for $20 a month, right? Because lose on drugs too, right? You know that commercial?
Yeah.
Big lose on drugs too.
On drugs.
Yeah. So, but then you become 40 years old, and that policy comes up, and you got to buy another one. And guess what? Now that policy is $150 a month.
Right.
Right. And then you get to 60.
Or more. Yeah.
And now it's $500 a month. So again, you're paying money out of pocket that you're never going to see back again.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
If you can learn how to use money where you can recuperate that, wouldn't that be interesting to you? Yeah. Wouldn't you want to know about that?
That's one of your innovative strategies is, hey, maybe not buy it and hope that you pay out when you're dead, right?
Well, right. It's
leverage it.
Use the money in the living world. Again, an insurance policy can be used for income in retirement, tax free. I can go on and on about the benefits of what insurance does, and we got rid of that when we got rid of pensions, and it's been one of my leading things is to get people to understand the importance and the value of bringing that back into your portfolio and into play, so you have pension-like income and a pension-like retirement.
Yeah.
Again, bringing peace of mind.
Well, that's a hard thing for a lot of people to wrap their mind around because they don't know. I mean, a lot of people don't know how to build a house, but they live in one. Right. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? And I didn't mean to skip past what you were talking about, younger people, and literacy. And I said, I question the literacy because I'm not so sure. Young people are more willing to take risks. Yeah. And I certainly did when I was younger, and I still do now. Kind of have that in me, but great story. A friend of my son's, 26 years old, got involved with the Robin Hood GameStop.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I made 60 grand in 3 hours. He made over 400 grand and cashed out.
Wow.
He had never invested much of anything before. Okay. That's a curse to those of us in the trading world, because if you make that one trade and you make a whole big bunch of money, you start to think you're pretty smart. You got this game down. You know what's going on.
That's right.
And let me tell you, the house doesn't forget.
Yeah.
It likes to get its money back.
Yeah.
And think of the markets as like sharks. If there's a drop of blood in the water, they'll be right there.
It's going to get you.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think the young kids, young adults, I should say, are more inclined to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the fact that they're getting involved. Trading is huge. I ran into my neighbor's wife 2 days ago, and I said, "Hey, how's your hubby doing?" She goes, "Oh, he's great. He's a little bored because he's still working from home and there's not as much to do, so he's day trading." So I texted him. I said, "Hey, big shot, how's that day trading going? You ready for that big play? Give me a call." And he reached out to me. It was pretty funny. He's like, "How'd you know?" And I ran into your wife, but people are dabbling in it, and they have been for a while. And it's usually a younger crowd that is doing it.
Yeah, well, I think also what people are starting to understand through the pandemic is, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to bust my butt. Maybe there's a smarter way to build wealth than what I've been doing.
So that I told you about the gentleman that called me yesterday. He's interviewing for a job, and he's just out of college and everything, and it's going in, and it's with the corporate world. Mm-hmm. Now, anybody who knows me knows I'm kind of anti-corporate.
No.
Well, I'm just not corporate material.
That's right.
Is the reality of it. But I can talk all day long about the stupidity of the corporate world. But people get so burnt out.
Yeah.
And you're working a job just to make money so you can live a life that you're hoping to live, and you're caught. And I know people that can't stand their job, but they're making so much money they'll never leave it.
Yeah.
It's like okay. And I know a couple of people that have given up big careers to start a baking cookie career.
Yeah.
Making barbecue sauce.
Shana asks another great question. Is there a minimum dollar amount needed to become, to work with you, to become your client? When I was young, I was told 100,000, which at 20 seemed pretty excessive.
Absolutely excessive. No, you can start at any time.
Yeah.
I don't have a limitation. I know there's a lot of advisors that want 500,000 or they won't talk to you, or 250,000 or $1 million. I know advisors out there that won't talk to you if you have less than $1 billion.
Woo-wee.
Yeah. I
No wonder I'm not getting called from them.
Yeah. I don't have much conversations with them myself.
I got 4 million listeners.
But there's all kinds of levels. But for me, no, it's about helping people, whether they're just getting started or they're just they just learned at age 60 that their final kid is done with college and getting married, and they're like, okay, what's next in life?
Right.
Retirement.
Yeah.
But no, there's no minimum, and I don't charge fees to have conversations to get it started, to help provide some education and answer your questions.
Yeah.
And lead you on the path. I just I don't believe in that, and I think more and more advisors are coming to that conclusion as well. I mean, we're now learning that there are, be careful of the advisor that wants to charge you a percentage. Typically an advisor that will charge you a percentage of assets under advisement, but, and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for saying that, but,
it's true.
The reality is if your money is in like mutual funds and things of that nature, those are already being managed.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you paying another person to manage what's being managed?
Yeah.
Think about
that.
And a lot of people and my clients will say, okay, but what about stocks? I want to get in stocks, And I said, great, go open up an account with E-Trade, Scottrade, TD Ameritrade, wherever. Open up an account. Yeah, I can help you. I can help you with some analytics. I can do the fundamentals. I can do the analysis. I can help you understand and learn. I can teach you some tricks.
Can educate them.
It's educating them, but it's protective education when investing. I said, and do that on your own, because they do it for free.
Yeah.
My company doesn't allow me to do those things for free.
Yeah.
But again, I want to point out, I'm not security licensed anymore.
Right.
I got rid of it. It was costing me too much money on an annual basis.
That's why I got rid of my motorcycle.
I was too restricted.
That's it. That's why I got rid of the motorcycle. Yeah. It was just costing me money. I have to insure it, have to license it, and I hardly rode it.
Harley D, $100.
That's right.
$100 here, $100 there.
That's right. So I think that's fantastic. And financial illiteracy is exactly that. And just because you choose to ignore it and not talk about it doesn't mean that you're not illiterate at it. I mean, it's,
yeah, where the old ostrich stick your head in the sand kind of thing. It boggles my mind how hard people work to avoid financial conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you asked me, hey, how can I refer you? How can I introduce you? And I said, you can't.
You really can't. Yeah.
I said, maybe you just say, hey, you know what? I've got this guy that I think you really should talk to. You should have a conversation with.
Yep.
And that's it. Because as soon as somebody hears the word advisor, whether I'm a retirement strategist or financial advisor, whatever we want to call ourselves, right? And we come up with these innovative ways, right? It comes in one ear and it stops. He's just another advisor. He's just picking my pockets.
Right.
And sadly enough, there are those out there.
And I say that with people, they ask me, because I sell money, right? I'm on the mortgage end of things in the financial world. And I tell people that too. I'm like, if the first thing they do is start talking about rates, run.
Yeah. Right.
And people always say, well, why? I said, because the rates haven't really moved in years. It's just been kind of hanging there.
So I got a question for you then. How many people ask you what it actually costs to refinance or to get a loan?
Everybody does. 100%.
Do they? Because what I found is most of them will say, if especially in a refinance, they say, hey, guess what? This is good. I can lower your monthly payments by $200 a month by just doing this. Do those people really ask you what it's going to cost? They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
They go through the whole process. They don't know you're making $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $12,000 on this thing, and you're still able to reduce their costs. They just care that it's $200 a month.
Right.
But they don't know that $10,000+ over 30 years is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. As a matter of fact, my conversation with people is I always ask them, the first thing I ask is, what are we trying to do financially? And they hesitate. That's always my first question. Well, I'm thinking about refinancing. What are we trying to do financially? And they hesitate. And I have to say, well, are you thinking about paying this off early so you can retire?
Yeah.
Are you thinking about lowering your monthly outflow on your everyday bills? What is it that you're financially trying to do? Go on vacation. Yes, we get that a lot too. Sal,
Yeah, right.
Sal is he sells money too.
A lot of people in the last year and a half or so have been pulling money out, right? Because they're fixing up their homes because we're gonna work from home forever now.
Yeah.
And I get that. No problem. But again, you're taking out a loan that has to be paid back, and you're going to be paying it with money you're never going to see again.
Right.
And the interest you're paying, if you were to sit down and write out each debt that you have, let's say credit card, every credit card you have, what is your monthly payment? What is the interest that you pay? And what is the balance that you owe? And you do that for every debt, your cars, your credit cards, your gas cards, whatever, and your mortgage. And you sit there and you add up what that interest is. And then that's what's going out, and that's not getting you anything.
Yeah,
that's just money going to the good folks at your bank.
Shane asked, did either of you see the 2008 mortgage crisis coming before it happened?
I saw it because I was in interest rate futures.
Yeah,
interest rate futures is the world's largest trading pit, and interest rates control everything financial, globally, locally, nationally, economically. It affects everything.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean I saw it well enough to not get my butt kicked in it.
Right.
Because I built a new home in 2005.
Right.
You couldn't have picked a worse year to build a brand new home, I don't think. Maybe 06.
Maybe
but
06.
Well,
yeah, and being involved in the industry, and Sal probably can say this too. It was like we were surfing at that point. We were riding a high wave, and we probably saw it coming. But as salespeople, we were like, stay on this wave.
Well, yeah,
it comes crashing.
I love how the financial guys, in that world, they all talk about, 08 was the worst year. Well, that was the worst year for the market. But the housing really started in 06.
Yeah, 06.
That's when stuff hit the fan, and so it went for a number of years. I mean, the fact that we were able to recover the way we did was really pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
And to have this bull run that we've had has been nothing short of really amazing as well. But again, you can't look at markets like we used to. We used to say there was like a 7-year cycle, and we can talk about other cycles, like we had 9/11, then we had the housing bubble, then we have the pandemic, and something always is going to happen that's going to affect the markets. But it's technology and things like that that are innovation, people that are creating, that are what drives the market more than anything, I think.
That's it. Yeah, thank you, Blackstone. That's right. So yeah, the interesting thing is, and people always ask me on a weekly basis, hey, is this going to be like 2008? Because prices are starting to inflate, and here in the Chicagoland area, anyway, what we're seeing is people dropping their prices. I think the public has gotten wise and said, I'm not going to overpay for a house. What I've seen over the last several weeks is prices coming down, more houses coming out on the market, values through appraisals have started to level out as well.
I'm actually seeing signs in the front of homes before they're actually sold, getting put up before they're actually sold.
Right.
Because before it was, the house was already sold, and then they put the sign up the next day.
That's right.
It's a good point. People are finally getting, I think, a little bit tired. If you ask any good realtor, they should tell you that this is a ridiculous market to be buying a home in.
It is.
You're guaranteed to overpay it for it. But people are willing to, and to the extent that they have to bring a whole bunch of cash in, right? Because the appraisal doesn't come out.
Yeah.
You know, that I paid $450 for this home. Why doesn't it appraise out? It appraises out at $360.
Yeah.
So now I got to bring $90,000 to the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how much you're overpaying for it.
Yeah.
That's a flag.
Yeah. And the bids start
but
5,000, 10,000 over the asking price.
It's opposite if you go in the city of Chicago. My brother-in-law just bought a condo down there, and he paid under asking price.
Yeah. Everybody wants out. Everybody wants out of the big cities. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And, what do you say to people who, want to get their financial literacy off of YouTube?
There's some interesting things out there. There's a lot of, but it's hard to find what's good, what isn't good. There's my wife texted me yesterday. She just listened to some blog. I have not had the opportunity to listen to it with Miley Kunis and her husband. I don't know, they're a famous actor guy.
Oh yeah.
And they were talking
Kelso,
about cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of discussion out there about different things. It can't hurt for you to at least start understanding a little bit about the language or the thought process. Because a lot of people don't even know, where do I start? What do I start thinking about my money? Well, start with what you have, where you're at, you've got a 401k, or you've got an IRA, or you've got a Roth, or you don't.
Right.
And what can I do to make my money grow? Because for every dollar you put away now is a dollar more you have to enjoy in retirement.
Yeah. And I think the important thing is knowing what your base is, know what you have. And what that means is not how much money you have at the end of the month. Understand, like you said earlier in this show, write down your debt, the interest, all that stuff that you have out there. And it'll shake you a little bit.
If it doesn't, I don't know what will. And I'm not a fan of using scare tactics on people, but that's not a scare tactic. That's reality. And the price of everything else is increasing, Salvador. No question it is. And there's arguments. Some people are saying it's short term, and I can jump on that bandwagon a little bit because we're in short supply of so many things.
Yeah.
And part of that is just because people don't want to work.
Yep.
Right. So you get panhandlers out there with every store behind them saying, we're hiring. But same thing with manufacturing. They talk about car prices skyrocketing, yet I see all these commercials on TV, like $2,500 below manufacturer's retail sale price.
And then you drive by a new car lot and there's 6 cars out there.
Yeah. Because there's not enough chips, and not enough chips means other types of things in technology that's being made is being created. That's part of what's driving inflation. So that's different, a type of inflation. It can be short-lived, and I can argue that as well. But I will tell you one thing, that I do not like the new administration's idea of using the Fed to chase inflation. I grew up in the days of Alan Greenspan, and he was all over it in front running it. And I believe in being proactive rather than reactive, because if you're trying to chase inflation going up with raising interest rates, it's like holding the tail of a lion. I don't see how it could work. But
So it's not a good thing. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. We're down to the last 2 minutes, Bill. Anything you want to leave people with? Again, if you want to get in touch with Bill outside of the show, you can reach him at haase.bill@gmail.com. Not Jamal.
And you did it twice.
Jamal. Yeah. I don't know. It's Gmail. It's good if you can spell, right? So that's probably why we didn't put it up there.
Well, maybe we should work on some different literacy first, Kent.
The producer really needs maybe just some spelling. But yeah, so haase.bill, haase.bill@gmail.com. Any other way that they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can reach out to my cell phone, 847-942-4028. It's 847-942-4028. Don't get discouraged if I don't answer. I'm
busy
quite often on the phone, and but I'm a stickler for GID. When you grow up in the training pits, it's GID. Get it done. So I promise I get back to you, because I can't let things go.
And for everybody out there listening, I also just want to Yeah, I also just want to put out there, it's never too late to start, no matter where you're at. That is Bill's entire strategies. Those innovative strategies will get you to where you need to go.
Yeah, like I said, you have two choices. You can try and take control and determine the lifestyle you're going to live, or you can let it be dictated to you.
And Ramit, yes, sir, it is a good time to start something new after COVID. Now, is some of the best time to get going.
A lot of folks are changing lanes and chasing dreams, and I love that.
And there's more millionaires that are made after a recession and during a recession than when it's good times.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of them being made this year, next year.
That's it.
It's from the numbers I see.
That's it. All right, for all of us here at 21.6 The Net, thanks so much for getting caught in the net with us. We appreciate your time. We're humbled and blessed. Come back at 12 for Mike and Fran Unrehearsed, and at 12:30 for questions you never thought you could ask in church.
It's like, what was somebody else on Facebook the other day saying? What's something you could say at the dinner